Do you realize how inaccurate the voter rolls are with just people just moving around, not let alone the people that die off, but sending ballots out just based on a voter roll registration? Anytime you move, you'll change your driver's license, but you don't call up and say, hey, by the way,
there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud, though. But there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud.
There's no evidence that there's not either. That's the definition of fraud, Jake.
Donald Trump's former chief of staff has been very concerned about voter fraud for years now. Mark Meadows was already talking about it in the months leading up to the 2020 election, as you just heard, and he continued after November the 3rd, parroting Trump's big lie that Joe Biden's win was fraudulent. Meadows even repeatedly pressured the Department of Justice to investigate those false claims of fraud. After he left the White House, Mark Meadows joined an organization named the Conservative Partnership Institute, which runs what they call an election integrity network, quote, dedicated to securing the legality of every American vote. Meadows was even the keynote speaker at their Election Integrity Summit earlier this year, and his speech made it very clear he hates election fraud.
It's more important that we continue to fight the fight on election integrity, regardless of who the candidate is. It's very important that it becomes easy to vote but hard to cheat.
But as it turns out, it's quite easy to cheat if you're Mark Meadows, a man bereft of any election integrity himself. We've now learned that until last week, he was simultaneously registered to vote in 3 different states: North Carolina, Virginia, and South Carolina. Until last week. That overlap lasted for about 3 weeks, and Meadows is still registered in both Virginia and South Carolina. Last month, the New Yorker reported that Meadows and his wife registered to vote in North Carolina a couple of months before the 2020 general election, listing their address ridiculously, laughably, as this mobile home in the Appalachian Mountains. But they never lived at or owned that property. Meadows requested a North Carolina absentee ballot to be sent to his townhouse in Alexandria, Virginia, that he purchased back in 2017. North Carolina officials have now removed him from the rolls and are investigating Meadows for potential voter fraud, noting that he voted in Virginia in 2021, registered at his Alexandria address where he actually lived. And just weeks after that report came out, Meadows registered to vote in his 3rd state, South Carolina, where he purchased a $1.6 million waterfront home last summer. Certainly an improvement on that trailer he was supposedly living in North Carolina. So we found the voter fraud. It's rich guy voter fraud by Mark Meadows, voter fraud expert. As I've said before, and I'll say again, Republicans, the calls are coming from inside the House.